The Big 12 Top Non-Conference Games Edition, part of the Big 12 College Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, is brought to you by Circa Sports. Circa Sports is back with their Circa Survivor and Circa Millions contest. $14 million up for grabs. Get all the details at circasports.com. And welcome everybody back to the Big 12 College Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. We are moving along in the we're talking non-conference games leading up in our preseason episodes. I am one of your co-hosts, Moneyline Mac, aka the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. And I am joined by my co-host, one of the co-hosts. He was born in Provo, Utah. He's got family names Iowa, and he lives in Morgantown, West Virginia, a graduate of WU. He is a walking contradiction. Rambling Rush, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing great. I would guess off that and your, fifth beer?
Yeah, about right. You know,
there we go.
Yeah.
I know you're right.
You're right at the over/under. I'll give you a push there. Actually, maybe 4 3/4. We got a little bit of a quarter to go, and then one more to go on the show to complete the first 6-pack. So, speaking of a guy that can drink a 6-pack like no other, he is in the 3-hole. He's always fighting a family civil war in the Big 12. He's got family ties everywhere. His seed is spread among the Big 12, UCF, Cincinnati, the Texas schools, the Oklahoma schools, hell, even Morgantown this year. He is the Big 12 guru. Troy Chewning, what is up, my man?
We are just pretty excited to get into some of these football games, to be honest. I mean, a couple of them look like they should be pretty darn interesting. We know you guys are pretty pumped for one specific game that you're going to have to wait quite a while to talk about, I think. But
I don't know what game you're talking about.
What game? Troy, if you're coming to Morgantown, you can spread your seat all you want. Just don't do it in my place, please.
Do it in the yard.
No black lights. No black lights.
No black lights.
You gotta wait until the couch is outside, like pre-burning. And
that's what we have to do.
Okay.
Do that, and then we'll burn it.
Burn it.
Yeah. There we go. We got it down.
Safe.
Absolutely.
So before we get into the top non-conference game, just want to update everybody. Go check out our previous episodes earlier in the week. The coaches and quarterbacks ranking and fan bases and top venues. In this episode, we're going to just touch on the September non-conference games. And then starting next week, we will dive into the top conference games. So we're breaking it up. We're giving you a little bit, teasing you with a little bit of an appetizer here. And then we'll give you the whole entree next week. And then before you know, we'll be doing 14 full team previews. Rush, I'll ask you, what are you going to do between now and September 2nd? Because unfortunately, we don't have a week 0 game. So you got still, 6.5 weeks to kill?
Well, I mean, I'll still be watching week 0, right?
Yes.
Let's see.
Fair.
What am I going to be doing till then? I'm going to be talking about a lot of hypothetical scenarios and playing a lot of storylines in my head until it actually happens. Because I think that's the thing about covering sports, or even being a sports fan in general, right? Is I think right? What's more fun? I'll make an analogy here. What's more fun, the NBA season or NBA free agency? I would say NBA free agency is actually more fun. And sometimes that month leading up, you do this whole what if game in your head, and then next thing you know, it's here. So a lot of what if scenarios going on.
I agree with you, because nobody wants to talk about load management when it actually shows up. Talk about the hypothetical load management is better than the actual load management. Big 12 Guru, for everybody listening, whether it's on Apple or Spotify, YouTube, Troy's a big Nats fan, and he goes to a bunch of Nats games. How many Nats games will you get to between now and September 2nd, Troy?
I don't know. We'll probably get down there. I mean, we got a party suite coming up on Saturday. We got the whole crew. I think it's like 16 or 17 people are allowed up in there. So we've got a whole group of guys that just going to go up there and get tore up and watch the Nats just suck because they're terrible at home. But, we probably fit 15 or so Nats games in. I don't know how many home games they have off the top of my head in between now and then, but most of them, we're starting to get down there. I mean, you don't realize it until it's gone. That's the problem with looking forward in the football schedule is once you get to week 1, it's basically already week 5 or 6.
You make a good point because I got to go to the beach here in a couple weeks or for a couple weeks. Not that I'm complaining that I'm going to the beach, but it's like you don't want it to go too quick because then it's gone. But then at the back end, what's on the horizon? We're talking week 0, week 1.
You got to savor it though because once it starts, it's a snowball. It rolls and rolls and it's gone.
Yeah, well, yeah, especially because we'll go right into basketball right after too. We won't get a break until about probably the first week of April once the Final Four is done. Football and basketball, it's an 8-month grind. I mean, whatever you're going to be betting on between now and then, most likely baseball, make sure you do so over at Circa Sports because the Circa Millions and Circa Survivor are back. $14 million in guaranteed prizes up for grabs. Circa Millions, 5 NFL picks ATS each week. Speaking of a league that's on the horizon, so is the National Football League. Circa Survivor just pick different money line dogs each and every week. Enter in Vegas, play from anywhere. Sports Gambling Podcast will be there the last weekend in August to enter their entry. That's at circasports.com. For all details, it's circasports.com. Man, I'd like $14 million. I just keep looking at that ad, and I'm like, man, I need to win that this year. So that would go a long way for the bankroll, as they would say. You know what else would go a long way for the bankroll if the first game in week 1, if this guy going to Fort Worth can pull off an upset, and that's a guy with 1 foot, that's Coach Prime. We got big noon kickoff to start Big 12 non-conference, and we're going to go in order week 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to lead it off in 4. Yeah, in 4. There is one trickled in 4. We'll lead it off in Fort Worth with the defending runner-ups. Rush, what caught your eye with this one, man?
I think the better question is what caught my foot or Deion Sanders' foot. My first question is how is he going to get up and down? I don't know if it's going to be Mr. Scooter again or what's going on there. And I don't even mean to joke. It'd be terrible to lose a foot, but geez, that's nuts right now. I think for this game, 2 big factors is seeing what type of team Deion Sanders has put together. I don't think he has the greatest expectations for this year. I think next year it's always kind of the second year type of thing, even though we've seen guys come in year 1 and do some great things. Speaking of that, Sonny Dykes at TCU. And then I think the question is going to be, how is TCU going to follow up being runner-up in the national championship last year? Are they going to come out punching? Or are they going to be, hey, this is actually a team that lost by a bunch of 1-possession games? I think this is also a future Big 12 game too. So, hey, nothing wrong with kind of starting those Big 12 rivalries early.
But you, Troy, Mr. Former Dallas Cowboy Coach Prime, going back to his old stomping grounds. What are you looking for? First of all, Colorado. I mean, what do we expect from them? All transfer you.
I know they schedule these games way out in advance, but it's too bad that this game isn't in Colorado because then I would even think about giving them like a 10%, maybe 15% chance of winning this one. With it being in boring ass Amon G. Carter or whatever. This isn't, Deion's got a 1 or 2% chance of pulling this one off. There might be a few big plays that we look at after the first week, but I just really don't see this one quite happening. Not this quick.
I think he has a 4.20% chance of pulling this off.
It's so funny to see a team that's got an over-under win total at 3 get so much hype. But, it's the show. I will give Deion credit. They set the record for spring game, but we'll get a quick look at him right off the bat to see what kind of year it's going to be because me personally, I think TCU is going to put it on him. And like Rush, you said, how's TCU going to respond after coming off that national championship run? So in the spotlight. Go ahead.
I'm going Scooter Rush. I think just right off the top of the head, I feel like Scooter is going to get him up and down the sidelines again.
I like
Deion.
Well, and we've talked about this too. I mean, this doesn't apply just to this game, but it's, I guess, technically every game that's played opening week is you've had a whole off season to prepare for an opponent rather than going like week by week preparing for an opponent. So, I mean, if there's usually, it seems like in college football, the most maddening week is week 1. So that could easily happen here.
That it could, and we will be here every step of the way to cover it. Let's go to another week 1 game, and me personally, I'm really looking forward to this game because this game last year was a freaking thriller in week number 1. That is the battle in Texas between UTSA at Houston. To give a little background, Houston was able to get by in 3 overtimes last year.
Yeah, I went to a soccer shootout.
Yeah, went to that stupid, ridiculous 2-point off. Yeah, no kidding, Rush. Houston was able to escape the dome, that San Antonio dome, 37-35. Rush, let me ask you this: who do you think's favored in this game?
Starting a little bit.
It's within a field goal either way.
I could see that. I think Houston is probably favored in this game. But I think this is another game where I'm probably putting UTSA. I'll probably at least choose them to cover.
How about you, Troy?
What is it? You said it's within a field goal, so it's 2.5.
Yeah.
It's actually 1 currently, and it flipped. It opened as one team is the favorite, and it flipped over to the other team. So it's a true toss-up. This is going to be a fabulous game.
I was going to say, I could see this moving back to a pick'em, especially if it was, even if it was 2.5, I was going to say you could see it move all the way down to 0.5 point or something like that. Just a straight up pick'em. And man, I'd be scared if I was Houston. Also, I wanted to say we should definitely mention the more than 2 overtimes, the 2-point conversion. We got to start listing that like a third tally in the hockey records, right? Like that shouldn't really count as a super big loss for the team. It's like half a win or loss.
Do you know what we need to do? Like in the off season, like you talk about our April schedule, is we need to like create a hypothetical college football playoff governing body and say what sweeping rules we would do across all of college football. So mark that up for April's schedule when we need content.
Oh yeah. After the
bring everything to a vote,
the save it for the depressing days after football and basketball. Houston opened as a 1-point favorite, and UTSA is now favored by 1. So, but I see that it's available at different books. So make sure you shop around for the best possible lines. This is going to be a fabulous game. And the best part about the 2-point conversion, actually the only good part, if you have the points and it's the line is 3 or greater and it gets to the 2-point, you're guaranteed to win. Most likely, I guess, because I guess you could throw an interception. Yeah. But like, as long as there's not a pick 6, 100 yards, you're guaranteed to make, pick 2 or pick 8. I don't know what kind of fucking pick it would be. But, yeah, no, this is a scary game for Houston because Frank Harris is back for UTSA. He carved them up last year when they met. What's that?
I was going to say it would have to be something weird like the other team scores first, and then when the team you have is trying to score back, you give up a pick 6 and it's worth 2, so it becomes 4 or something like that.
Yeah, and then you have a feel. See, we're already getting our gambling minds going. Like you're always
doing too much math.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I'm passing on this one.
Who said my math teacher said I wouldn't be good at math? See, look at all this mental math I can do in my head when money's on the line.
Start talking about grams. I know what you're talking about.
And from an over-under standpoint, I mean, there were over 70 points in this game last year. So this has got another entertaining one written all over it. Speaking of trap games, that's a trap game for Houston because of the in-state factor. This is a trap game and a half for the Red Raiders because they got the Ducks in week 2 on. They got to go to Laramie. I don't know who the fuck scheduled this game, but we got Texas Tech. Rush, is Wyoming? I'll pose a question simple to you. Are the Wyoming Cowboys a live dog at home against the Texas Tech hyped Red Raiders? I saw them as a playoff contender today on ESPN.
Oh yeah, I mean this already intrigues money line right now. The only thing you got to worry about is then if everyone in the world starts being like, "Oh, Wyoming," if everyone else jumps on, then you're like, "Yeah." Then you start getting nervous. But an underrated game last year of week 1 was, and I know Texas Tech's not Tulsa, but the Wyoming Tulsa game, that was an incredible game week 1 last year, the 3:30 slot. But I think the best way to determine this game is if you had a Raider versus a Cowboy, like battling it out, like kind of do that. Actually, we have AI now to do those scenarios for us. Find an AI generator and say, who would win in a fight, a Raider or a Cowboy? And whoever it selects, I think that's who wins the game. I think that's basically this type of game.
The Wyoming Cowboy is holding on. He's holding on to like a bucking Bronco, right?
Yeah.
So he would only have only one gun. Raider 2 guns. If it was a normal horse, you could ride, like Pistol Pete with two guns, or like the Raider. But when it's the bucking Bronco, you got to use one hand to hold on, right?
Yeah,
Lose by a gun.
Or because of the bucking Bronco, like it may be harder to
dodges.
Aim for. Like you're dodging, and then you run out of bullets, and then you just need one.
Stupid.
So that's how we're deciding football games here. This is what gambling will do for your mind.
I got it pulled up just because I was curious, because the first thing that comes to mind, elevation in September. Shit, this is September. I don't even know what day it is. September 2nd. This is a primetime game at War Memorial Stadium in Laramie, Wyoming. They have the highest elevation stadium in the country at 7,200 feet above sea level. So this is a scary game for the Red Raiders, especially with the Oregon Ducks on the horizon. So beware. If you want the money line like Russ was talking about, if you want to sprinkle it early, it's plus 440. That's a juicy dog.
Plus 440.
Yeah, if you want to get in on that now, they are getting 13.5, but we'll be interested to see as we get closer if that line starts dropping. Which side the wise guys, as they say, come on it. And speaking of the wise guys are over at Underdog Fantasy. We're brought to you by Underdog's Fantasy Best Ball Mania. And it's here because Underdog Fantasy is giving away $15 million in prizes. Underdog Pick'em is a great way to get down on your favorite MLB and NFL player props. So many ways to win over on Underdog, and it is available in so many different states. Head over to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit up to $100. That's the UnderdogFantasy.com promo code SGPN. All right, to wrap up week number 1, and here we go to a potential top 5 team in the Big Ten. Happy Valley, whiteout, NBC to start for the Big Ten TV deal. And we got our Mountaineers, Rush, going to Happy Valley. Give me your take on this one. They're a heavy dog, I can tell you that.
Just cover. Just give us hope for the year. Just make it a game. I know it's an old rivalry game. You literally have no expectations in this game, West Virginia. Just treat it as such. Just cover, win me some money, show that you are capable of being a competitive team this year. It's like you said, it's going to be tough. I brought up earlier that week 1's the time to play teams like this because you have all off season to prepare. I don't feel great about this game, but I think they could end up, maybe a 17-point game, score a last-second touchdown, end up making it like a 10-point game. That's kind of the feel I have it on the West Virginia. And there's only one team in the War of Pennsylvania, the first 3 games that means the most, and I have a feeling we'll be getting to it later.
Yes. Troy?
What is the line on this one? Is it like 16 or
it's like
something
18
like
and
that?
a half. 18 and a half, 19 and a half now?
20.
It's 20 now?
It's 19 and a half or 20, depending on your book.
Well, I mean, are they really doing the whiteout Penn State, or are you just?
Oh yeah, they always do it in prime time.
The prime,
yeah. And and on the outside looking in, everybody's gonna be like, "Oh my God, top 5 Penn State team versus the last place Big 12."
You know what stains white? Brown. They're not going to win that game, but they're going to get in there with like a 13-point loss and really screw some people out of that line.
Because I don't think Penn State's a top 5 team either. I will say that.
They've had a couple hiccups in the last couple years at home. The game that comes to mind is Illinois. So this hit my head today, or hit my head. I hit my head all the time, as you can tell with the way I'm talking. I was thinking about this today with the new rule changes, Rush and Troy. I think this is a game where we could see the benefits of being a heavy dog in these games, especially when you have a good offensive line and you want to run the ball. You could shorten the game, limit the possessions. The clock isn't stopping after the first downs anymore. So I think West Virginia can actually slow down the game like Illinois did a couple years ago. I'm not saying the Mountaineers are going to win. I'm not, although I probably will say, for the hell of it, I will sprinkle plus 1,000 just as a homer pick. But
it's plus 1,000.
Yeah, they're a heavy dog. But
yeah,
I think this is a recipe of bleed the clock, shorten the game, limit possessions, and like you said, cover, lose by 7 or 10.
Just give something to build off of for West Virginia.
Yes.
That's your goal.
If they played this game 10 times, West Virginia is at least winning once, right?
If it was in Morgantown, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
That place is a different deal at nighttime.
Yeah,
they start that white out, the fucking towels.
Yeah, but they're
gonna,
even if it keeps going up. What did it open below 20 and now it's all the way up to 20?
I think it
opened at like
18.
I think it was 19 or 18 and a half when it opened.
Yeah, so it's already.
You never know what's gonna happen at Sandusky U at nighttime.
Yeah, maybe you're gonna need every one of those.
True.
That might be like an 18-point game.
Yeah, you gotta watch the 2-hole on that one. So moving along, we'll talk.
Might get some brown from there too.
There's some brown. You could have a little brown in the white out in Sanduskyville. So that's enough of Sandusky for this episode. Let's move along to week number 2. This could arguably be the most underrated. I'm going to say this for like 5 games. This could be the most underrated game based off of where these two programs are heading, both basketball schools. Friday night under the lights in Lawrence, under the track. Illinois goes to Kansas. Rush, how about this game?
This is, like you said, a very underrated game. And I'm sure we'll either say that this game's underrated or this game's interesting for every game coming up. But it's the perfect Friday night game. Theoretically, going into this year, like a kind of evenly matched teams. This is definitely good for Kansas in the Big 12 that it's at Kansas. I'd be a little more nervous if it was at Illinois. But, this is Kansas's first big game of the season. They have a lot of hype. If you can draw on that basketball fandom, I mean, do you have the line for this one?
The line for this one is
it's not out yet.
It's not out. It's not out because it's week 2.
My guess would, that's a good point. My guess is that line's going to be around, if everything goes according to plan week 1, I would say Illinois minus 4.5.
Yeah, I would say it's around a field goal.
You gotta hammer that in Kansas's favor then.
Oh yeah,
because that's going to be a showcase for Jalen Daniels. If he really is the best quarterback in the Big 12, he will light Illinois up.
And Troy, what do you say about Illinois' head football coach? What did you say last year?
Oh,
Bielema. He's
Bielema.
huge, man.
He's really, really
big old Bielema. He needs to become bulimic. We don't encourage bulimia, but in this case, we might.
I will say, guys, Bielema is it Bielema or Bielema? I don't even know how to pronounce. I'm so bad with pronunciations. I know he's a hell of a football coach. He's in his third year, just like Leipold. I say bowling ball with the way that he rolls it up and down that sideline. He's in his third year too, though, as Lance Leipold, just like Lance Leipold at Kansas. Can they take another step this year, just like Kansas? Like Rush said, exact same storylines in this fantastic Friday night game. We need more of these games, man.
Friday and more night played on Friday. Yes,
Friday. Friday, Thursday, Wednesday night, you name it, man. We need more of these because it gives a guy like Jalen Daniels an early Heisman spotlight potentially.
It's going to be pretty tough for that big guy Bielema to take a step.
No, he's not taking a step. He's going to freaking stumble.
He needs Deion's scooter.
I was going to
He
say, he
needs
sees
more.
Deion's scooter. He's going to be like, God damn.
Oh, I just need to gain 20 more pounds to lose this leg so I can be in a scooter. Challenge accepted.
Belima might reach out to Mangino and Charlie Weiss for some advice how to move around on those sidelines in Kansas.
Yeah,
they got plenty of experience. All right, let's move along. Let's talk about some people that are actually fit. I don't know if this school's
half
fit.
of them are.
Yeah. So this is an old Big East rivalry, and you know what? They are debuting the CW network. Shout out to the CW.
Congrats, Pitt. Made it to the CW.
Yeah, you know, it's where you guys belong, a network where nobody can find you. Cincinnati, Pitt, Rush, old Big East rivalry. Initial thoughts?
I think this is a game where is Cincinnati going to potentially play up to Pitt, or is Pitt going to play down to Cincinnati? The game being at Pitt, it's not the home field advantage that you think it is. Obviously, we saw that last year. And you know, rivalry games, anything can happen. For Cincinnati, and you know, I think it's 4.5 was their over under going in when we were covering them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is probably one that you need to get or figure it out, especially since Pitt's probably looking ahead to next week after this, playing West Virginia, obviously a game we'll talk about later. So I think Cincinnati can play a game of gotcha here. And I don't even mean that from a bias take being a West Virginia fan. It kind of just feels like it's in the cards.
The only reason why I will disagree is because if it's on the CW, it's going to be about as exciting as a live golf tournament. There's going to be a bunch of bullshit, loud noise in the background, and it's just there's not going to be any real substance to the game. I don't think Cincinnati has much of a chance in this one.
I'm interested to see with this matchup because Pitt's always good in the trenches under Narduzzi. I mean, hell, he didn't even like having Kenny Pickett. He'd rather just run the ball all game. He kicks field goals down, or kicks field goals down 4 at the 1 yard line with a minute left. Because Cincinnati's good in the trenches too. If you're looking for a strength of Cincinnati, their defensive line, I'm interested to see the line of scrimmage here in this game. And Rush makes a good point. Pitt's got a big game next week, but I mean, Pitt at worst is saying we got to come out of this Big 12 non-conference with the split. They're arrogant enough where they're like, oh, we're not losing to either of these. But there's definitely a world where they could go 0-2 in this Big 12 split, in my opinion. All right, speaking of this is a fantastic game.
I love this game.
11 a.m. local kickoff. It is going to be hot. The boats are going to be pulling right up to McLean Stadium. I will kick it to Troy for this one for his Sick'em Bears. Utah Utes going to Waco for an early non-con. This is fantastic. 11 a.m. kickoff.
10 a.m. Utah.
Yeah. Are the Bears going to run them out of the stadium here?
You know, this is starting to become they should try to keep this on the rotating schedule almost. Baylor and Utah is slowly becoming a rivalry. I mean, I think that this might be the best chance that Baylor has to open up nationally. I mean, I know they're excited to go on the road and take on UCF, but if they beat this Utah team kind of early in the season,
yeah,
they really could, you know, already have cemented themselves as like, hey, we're really a top 3 team. We're not a top 5 or 6 team in this conference. We're here to seriously play. And I kind of predict that happening. I think Baylor has enough that they're going to surprise a lot of people in this Utah game.
How about you, Rush?
Of all these non-conference games, I think this is the one that has the biggest chance of having a rematch. Utah won the Pac-12 2 years in a row. Baylor won it 2 years ago. I expect big things from Baylor this year. I've talked about it over and over again. You could see this again in either a New Year's 6 or maybe not playoff. It'd probably have to be a New Year's 6, but I could see this happening.
The bowl that comes to mind with the Big 12 and SEC is the Sugar Bowl. Baylor, Ole Miss a couple years ago. They got matched up. Maybe this could be. Wait, what am I talking about? Utah's not in the – I don't know what I'm saying. No, the Alamo Dome. That's what I'm thinking of. Washington and Texas last year. That's a pretty solid It's not a New Year's Six bowl like you're talking about, Rush, but it is a good bowl game between the Big 12 and Pac-12.
I think both of these teams are a step better than that. I will say
could
that.
Be, yeah. You know what else is an interesting fact too? Utah's coming off a Florida game, so they don't have a cupcake the week before. They play Florida week 1 opening night. That's a revenge game for the Utes. They want to get back up Florida for their loss in the swamp last year. I think this is a great spot for the Bears to make a statement for their program and for the Big 12.
I agree. Utah usually loses one of these non-con, and then it lights them up for the Pac-12. I don't think they're going to lose to Florida 2 years in a row, especially since it's the first game on a Thursday. They've had that game circled. I agree. I think Baylor comes away with this game.
We're all in agreement. Sick 'em, baby. Yeah, here we go. This game is going to be 10-9. I can already guarantee it. We got the Cyclones and Hawkeyes. They're the same fucking team.
Cyhawk, baby.
Yeah, Cyhawk Bowl. Here we go. Matt Campbell finally beat Iowa last year. Rush, you did the preview for Iowa State. Break us down. And what do you think the line is for this one?
Well, before I get to the line, I think you gave him way too much credit being like 10-9. I think this is more of like a 7-8 with like couple safety. Like it's like when Iowa and I think it was South Dakota State played and they won like, what was that, 7-3 or 7-4? It was just ridiculous. Guess the line. Oh, this line's probably, dude, this has got to be a pick 'em. I mean, I'll say 1.5 it's at Iowa State. I'll give Iowa State 1.5 since they're at home.
Troy?
This seems like a 2.5 Iowa State.
Iowa's favored. Iowa's favored by 2. Yeah, Iowa's favored by 2.5. I was surprised to see that too because I would have. Yeah, so this might be another, but like you guys said, it's under that field goal threshold. This game, the only thing that's weird about Iowa, maybe they want to score some more points this year because Kirk Ferentz's son's got that incentive in his contract where he's got to average more than 24 points per game or he loses his job as offensive coordinator. So I don't know, man. Go ahead, Rush.
All right, here's my prediction. First team that scores 2 touchdowns, if that even happens, but like a guaranteed first team to 2 touchdowns wins the game.
The fact that the Iowa defense always has 5 or 6 defensive touchdowns a year and that we've seen Hunter Deckers throw the ball away on purpose, people are saying on purpose. I think that the defensive touchdown would be an awesome little sprinkle here. If you can get that anywhere, I would take that. Iowa with a defensive touchdown here. Pick 6 on Hunter Deckers.
You stole it right from me, man, because I was going to say I guarantee we're going to see a defensive touchdown in this game. Either way, maybe on both sides. So, yeah, no, this game is fantastic every year. Can't wait to watch this. This is 3:30 on Fox, week number 2.
That's a great.
And, yeah, this is how bad.
The tall grass won't bother Iowa.
No,
that's the thing. No tall grass advantage. It's
just immediately evened out.
They should make like a Field of Dreams version of this game. Like that should go be played in the cornfields at Field of Dreams.
Is this heaven? No, this is just Iowa, baby. This is how bad Oklahoma's fucking non-con is that we got to highlight. SMU goes to Norman. Troy, right to you because it's the Sooners. SMU have any chance? No.
Gabriel goes 2 quarters and 1 drive and scores 5 touchdowns. They have him out of the game before the third quarter is even close.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the Big 12 game SMU has circled the Sonny Dykes Bowl. That when we get to SMU TCU, that'll be a good one. But yeah, Oklahoma's going to run through SMU, especially that it's at Oklahoma.
Easy enough for me. We'll move on to the most hyped game of the Big 12 non-con, the preview of the SEC in 2024. Honestly, a rematch of a hell of a game last year. As much as we hate Texas, they played their ass off in this game last year. And this is why everybody hypes up Steve Sarkisian and Quinn Ewers. It's the ultimate moral victory game last year that has everybody holding on still to Texas being back potentially. Rush, I will kick it to you. You lead it off with your initial thoughts on this one. And can Texas go into Tuscaloosa and get a win here to cement themselves as back?
I will answer your question with another question. Do you think Nick Saban will allow that?
Fuck no.
And there you
Troy?
go.
Everything about this game I have is just based on like the Bill Belichick, Nick Saban handshake deal between every other football coach and those two. Like the fact that the moral victory of Texas's whole year was we would have beat Alabama if our guy stayed healthy. That's even worse and even bigger motivation to Nick Saban than if they would have won the damn game in the first place. Nick Saban's like, these guys are talking about a loss.
And they carried that we would have all the way to Lubbock. They lost that a couple weeks later. Then they carried it to Stillwater a couple weeks after that, took a loss there. This is what they do. They're not going to win this game because it'll be like, oh, we would have won last year. But it's like, no, you had them this year. And I'm telling you, with this schedule that Texas has got in September, Steve Sarkisian's seat's going to be hot by October 1 because I think they're going to lose at Alabama and I think they're going to lose at Baylor. We'll talk about the Big 12 schedule. If they're 2-2 all of a sudden, QB room's going to get dramatic. You got the Manning in the background. You got Sarkisian all of a sudden is what, 14-13 overall? Or, 14-13 overall? No, 15-14.
There you go.
Yeah,
15-14.
There you go. Yeah.
It was math not trying to win you money, so you couldn't do it. It's all good.
Hey, whatever. Around 500, he'd be around 15-14, and all of a sudden they're going to start calling for his head is my prediction. So, no, roll damn tide in this game. I think we already gave out our predictions. Rush, what'd you say? 2 touchdowns?
Oh, I think it's going to be more than that. I think it's going to be like 41-10. I think it's going to be a throttling.
Yeah, that was what did I joke around? I said 41-17 or something like that. Like that seems more and more realistic as the expectations continue to rise for a team that we know deserves none of it.
Do you remember in the exact same game 2 years ago, week 2 at an SEC team when they went to Fayetteville and got absolutely housed in that game? And I think they beat like Louisiana in week 1, who was ranked. And they're like, oh, Texas is back under Sarkisian. And then they just went to Arkansas and got freaking ran out of the building.
They got crushed. That was great.
Yeah, that was a
great game for the Pitt man.
Sark Sark is one of those guys. You know what you're getting. You're getting a dumb alcoholic. He's coming in there, and you just hope that some of the play calls come together, and that's about it.
And we are all laying 6.5 on September the 9th there in prime time in Tuscaloosa. So go grab that now. Here's a zigzag opportunity for us, guys. Oregon going to Texas Tech. This line is going to hinge on what happens in Laramie the week before. Oregon's got a cakewalk in week number 1. Is this a potential zigzag here, Troy? Do we hop on the Red Raiders on the bounce back here potentially?
Going to Lubbock is weird, but I don't know. Just having that good of a quarterback returning to your team for Oregon is just a step ahead this early in the season. So, Bo just being back and it being, the second week of September. I don't know if Tech quite has enough for Oregon, and they definitely don't have enough for me to think like, oh, this is an awesome reverse play.
I think it gets hot in Lubbock this time of year. And I do think that's a factor, right? If we're talking elevation or cold, we got to look at it season by season. And I think that's a bigger factor than people want to let on. And I get Bo Nix played at Auburn, but I also think, the rest of the team didn't. I'm maybe it's too mainstream, but I like the zigzag here. I like Texas Tech losing to Wyoming and then coming back and beating Oregon.
I could see them maybe not losing to Wyoming, but like winning on by like a field goal or just escaping there, and then the line overcorrecting, and then I'm all for taking the Red Raiders as a dog because they're going to be a dog because Oregon's over under win total I think is like 9.5. They're at the top of the Pac-12 with USC with Bo Nix coming back, but I love the Red Raiders here. September primetime, that place, they're going to be guns up and shooting it everywhere. West Texas is going to be on fire that night. I can't wait for that game. That's prime time on Fox. So we had a hell of a doubleheader there. Iowa State, and Oregon Texas Tech as a doubleheader on Fox on Saturday, September 9th. Here we go, Rush.
This is a great one.
This is a hell of a game. I mean, this is the theme of the night. Actually, this is not in the late window. I thought it was going to be the 10 o'clock window, but it's a 7 o'clock FS1 game. We got the bounce house going out to the blue turf. This was a heck of a non-conference game a couple of years ago where UCF barely beat them. I think they won on like the final play. Yeah, 36-31.
Where was that game again?
It was at the bounce house.
Yeah.
And now Do you got the Broncos on the blue turf with payback here, Rush?
I do, and I think the reason behind this is they see what UCF has done, being able to get into a Power 5 conference, and I think in a lot of these like expansion talks, Boise State keeps getting left out, and Boise State has this mentality: "What about us?" And I think this is their chance to be like, "Yo, Big 12, you forgot someone." Boise State's been a little down in recent years, hasn't been kind of what we've seen in, when they beat Oklahoma back in the 2000s and just kind of sustained success. They've always been a thorn in BYU's side. I've seen that over and over again. But I think this is a what about us game for Boise State. Far travel for UCF, not going to have that home field advantage that, really helps them, propels them. It's going to be different for them. And I think it's too early in the season for this to be so different that they can't handle the moment. I do have Boise State in this game.
I'm pulling the trigger on this one solely based on location. The fact that it's in Boise, I mean, they don't lose football games there. They've got like a 73% home winning percentage in the lifetime of the stadium, and it's crazy. If you go even more recent than that, I'm sure from, like 2000 on, it's up in the 90% range or something like that at home. UCF is the travel all the way to Boise, and Boise really trying to put their name out there. This definitely has the makings of a maybe UCF's a pretender week for other teams to then start overlooking them.
Mm-hmm. Like Boise's being like, it should have been us instead of them type of, It's going to be that type of talk.
Yeah, I want to root for the Big 12, but I don't like this. I mean, the travel from Orlando all the way to Boise, I don't like that at all. I'm on the Boise, the blue turf guys, Broncos on a bounce back or payback opportunity here from a couple years ago. This game is intriguing because it's in the late window. Gundy's going to be soaking it up at the freaking pool all day with his OAN shirt on. He's in Tempe, Arizona for week number 2. Troy, what we got here? Is Gundy going to be ready to go? Is he going to have a new tan for this game in
at
Tempe,
home.
Arizona?
Yeah, he like a double strap tan from his like 2 AR-15s that he can just walk around with. He's going to be right at home. I see this one as a cool non-conference game just to kind of gauge what people are going to do. It's early in the season. So all the scripted kind of offensive stuff that Oklahoma State really likes to do, I think it should work pretty well. I don't think, it being too hot or too dry or anything like that is going to hurt any of their concepts. And Bowman shouldn't be hurt by this point. He should still be okay standing up. I see this one as an interesting. Does Oklahoma State really put it on them and cement themselves as a real competitor, or are they just, is it just going to be a grind and compete every week, which we're kind of leaning towards that.
This is a perfect drift off game, meaning like you watch kind of the first half, you start nodding off at halftime. Next thing you know, you wake up at 3-4 a.m. in your chair being like, where am I? And you go to bed because you have NFL Sunday to wake up for the next day. This is that perfect 10-15 game. And no, I'm with you. Maybe a little close at first, but I see Oklahoma State winning like 34-14, something along those lines.
Yeah, Arizona State, it's not there yet. Year number 1 of the new head ball coach there. I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name. Offensive coordinator from Oregon. It's going to take a little bit there. He's trying it through the transfer portal via NIL, but I think it takes another class. Let's go over to week number 3, man. We got an old Big 12 rivalry here. We got K-State going to Missouri. K-State's had the upper hand here since Mizzou made that dumbass decision to leave the Big 12 conference, the best conference in the country for the SEC, where they basically are in the basement every year. K-State continue to roll here, Rush?
Yeah, Missouri's not much of a worry. And it was maybe it's not a dumb move because I'm sure they're enjoying the money. SEC revenue. But when you look at it from actually a competitive standpoint, and it's kind of like now that you do look at it 2020 hindsight, I mean, I guess that was kind of the time to get Oklahoma and Texas instead of Missouri and Texas A&M. But I get it. It's money. Things are different at different times. I don't really see, kind of similar to the game we just talked about. I find it to be a very similar game to Arizona State and Oklahoma State.
In terms of the national eyes, I mean, West Virginia and Pitt isn't it's a big rivalry between those two schools, but people are going to be looking at Alabama stomping a mud hole in Texas, and I'm really hoping that Kansas State beats the shit out of Missouri so that I can respond on Twitter with the whole like, not so fast. The Big 12 is still here to compete. You just got an overhyped team against Alabama, you know. I have this one scheduled as hopefully a blowout.
That's why we're giving them Texas, because we got to get rid of the dead weight. So yeah,
shed it.
I think K-State, they continue to dominate the trenches here. I'm with you. K-State rolls again. They did drop a non-con game last year to Tulane, but we didn't realize how good Tulane was at the time. I mean, shit, they beat USC in the Cotton Bowl last year. So yeah, I don't think that they slip up here against Missouri. They have that one circled. Speaking of slip-ups, oh my, Iowa State's got to go to a MAC school. I know Matt Campbell came from the MAC at Toledo. He's got to go to Athens, Ohio, and that's a hell of a place to party too. So that place is going to be, as Colby would say, lit. Oh man, Troy, what are they thinking here scheduling this game?
Athens, Ohio is the home of the best Halloween party, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Every Halloween is where they go fucking nuts up there. Someone must have gotten the list or wherever this game is supposed to be played, or maybe they thought it was going to be a neutral site game. I don't know why, but having to go to Ohio is a little bit scary. Again, Matt Campbell not always having the most talent. If everything isn't falling into the right place, and if Hunter Deckers has bet on the other team, we could see some scary plays here. I don't know if Ohio has the way to win it outright, but I see this one being way closer than anyone expects.
I think Iowa State and Ohio played last year. I think this was a home and home scheduled. This, I could be wrong. I need to check that. So I think this game hinges on the result of Iowa State. If Iowa State beats Iowa, and then they open up in week 4 against Oklahoma State, you bet your ass this is a trap game. Now, if they lose to Iowa, there's no way they're going to want to start play, Big 12 play, not, sharpened up, and then they could kill Ohio. I think this is one of those games. But you're right. In terms of outright, no matter the situation, I think it's going to be one of those at a minimum where Iowa State escapes. But this is a very interesting play by the scheduling department of Iowa State.
Yeah, especially with it sandwich. It's a sandwich spot. You got the Iowa game, like you said, and then you got the Big 12 opener. I mean, if they beat Iowa, man, I think Ohio could potentially be a live dog. Definitely take the points there. No line out on that one yet, but yeah, it depends on that Iowa game. I'm with you guys.
Yeah. So they did play last year, but it was at Iowa State and they won 43-10. So, but like we said, this one's now at Ohio, and it's a sandwich spot. So
And you know those MAC schools. Remember Western Michigan swept Pitt of all teams when Pitt decided they were going to go to Western Michigan and get absolutely bounced. It was like, who scheduled this freaking game? So speaking of Oklahoma, they have another gauntlet here. They go to Tulsa for a road game. This is like Alabama going to South Florida this year. How much does Oklahoma win by here, Troy?
I mean, you would hope that there's not Brent Venables isn't having the same issues right off the bat in the beginning of the year, but just having the quarterback continuity, I think this one is, again, early season. You're going to see a lot of Dylan Gabriel hype, and wow, look at all the stuff that he does out here with his legs and his arm. I would take him by, I don't know, anything upwards of like 24-28 or something like that. Seems very, very doable for Oklahoma.
Yeah, this is the Section 8 housing bowl where you have to give money to your in-state opponent and make sure that they're getting a little bit of the love, a little bit of the welfare too.
It's just laundered.
Yeah, exactly.
We laundered it through Oklahoma. It's okay.
It's exactly. I mean, here's the thing too. I mean, Oklahoma's going to kill Tulsa, but all in all, I actually enjoy like Tulsa. You know, when they're playing their conference and they're playing more opponents on their level, they're actually a fun team to watch. They're in sneaky good games, but unfortunately, this isn't going to be one of them.
No, not at all. And that's why I'm moving right along. Oklahoma's going to roll. Rush, here you go. Rematch. Arkansas was able to go to where they couldn't drink, and they found a way to get a win in Provo last year. It was kind of during that stretch where BYU struggled. Any chance BYU get some payback here, Rush? Or this is a tough place to play?
So in the preview, I said no. I think they dropped to Arkansas again. I think this game's similar to the Oregon game last year. There's just moments where BYU just can't live up to the hype. Now, if you had switched it and this game was at Arkansas last year, was at BYU this year, especially earlier in the season, I would have liked it more. I guess I made the argument that now you have a new defensive coordinator and you're installing a new defense. So this wasn't a year to play a big opponent week one. And it's probably better that they're playing Arkansas. Where I could be wrong and the advantage could be for BYU is the fact that they have Sam Houston State and then they have Southern Utah. So they could be able to tune everything up well and then get ready to go to Arkansas. I think BYU is going to overperform a little bit in the Big 12 this year. I think this game, it just doesn't feel right from a traditional BYU fan standpoint.
I think Kendall Briles leaving is the only little hiccup that Arkansas is going to have to deal with. And I don't know if BYU quite has the firepower this specific year to go down.
I agree. It's the wrong year.
I guess if I'm completely wrong about Keaton Slovis, that's the only way. Maybe BYU goes down there and what's the Arkansas quarterback that came back?
KJ Jefferson.
KJ Jefferson.
A big year for Sam Pickman.
See, the only reason why I kind of want to lean towards BYU is because I think KJ Jefferson is a bit overrated. Like I don't think he's that great of a quarterback. So
he can get hurt.
I don't know.
I will say too, I could change my opinion. This is definitely, I need to feel it the week of type of game right now. Kind of just looking at BYU historically and the streakiness that they are. I don't think that they win this one. However, I think something working towards BYU's favor is Arkansas does play LSU the next week. So maybe a little look ahead.
But being on the road, maybe Keaton finally finds himself like a Monsanto preserved, like 20-year-old Arkansas
Daniels
girl. Yeah, half-drank bottle of Jack. And
Evan
maybe
Williams.
he gets back in and starts feeling like it's USC days or something. I don't know. The closer we get to this one, I'm going to lean more and more towards BYU.
I might. You might
take the points. Take the points. I
don't even know about taking the points. I'm serious. I could see this game being like the Oregon game last year where it was like 41-20. This is the biggest of all the games, the non-conference games we're covering. I think this is the game where it's the biggest floor to ceiling difference range.
Looking forward to seeing how it transpires. And here we go. The best Big 12 game voted by us in the non-conference in terms of passion, rivalry. That fucking school from up north is coming to Morgantown for the first time since 2011. It's 2011 now. Right, payback on the Mountaineers' minds. Everybody saw the game last year. Mountaineers gave the game away. Didn't go for it on 4th and inches. Had a ball hit the receiver's hands. Pick 6 goes the other way. Rush, kick it. Let you lead it off here. Any thoughts? I mean, we're going to preview this game so many times. I don't even really want to talk about it yet because it's just going to piss me off.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts. It's which ones do I want to talk about right now in this moment? Here's what I'll say is the closer that we've gotten to this game, the better I feel about West Virginia. And another point to this is I think Neal Brown's career as a head coach in Morgantown is this is the game. This is like, Army, Navy, you have one goal every year and it's to beat each other. Well, that's what this kind of is this year for Neal Brown. Because even if West Virginia, let's say, goes 5-7, doesn't make a bowl, but we beat Pitt, that'll almost be like that's good enough. We beat Pitt. Yeah, exactly. You want to talk about like the handicaps of wins and all that's what this game is. Because I could see if we get crushed by Penn State, we'll beat Duquesne and then lose to Pitt, especially a game that we should have won, kind of like last year's game. I think you're going to see what a lot of people saw in Wisconsin last year, and you're going to start seeing boosters pulling money together, and they'll be figuring out a buyout. I think this game is everything.
It's funny. It determines Neal Brown's job, and if he's able to win this game and, feel like he's got the whole rest of the season no matter what, it's going to be a domino pile one way or the other. It's either everything hinges on this game for sure. Neal Brown's either out very quickly or they know he's in for the rest of the year, and they're able to pile on a couple of maybe teams that they aren't expected to beat come to Morgantown and they win a couple of more games there. But that's the other big reason that you can't go with Pitt here. I mean, the games in Morgantown, it's going to be.
Should be the loudest.
What's the average BAC? For somebody in the average BAC has got to be like 0.13, 1.14.
Maybe higher because it's 7:30 on ABC.
Oh, people be tailgating since
10:24,
11.
Since 7 a.m.
Bob will be driving, baby.
No, we will not let Bob drive. We will make sure we get Bob a ride for this game. What do you hear? There is a line out for this one. There's an early line.
Oh.
What do you think the line for this one is? This is telling you everything. This is the last place team in the Big 12 we're talking about. Preseason last place.
Yeah, and it's probably only Pitt by 2.5, 3.5.
I was thinking that. What is it? Pitt by one?
Pitt by one.
Wow.
It's a pick 'em. It's basically a pick 'em. West Virginia currently plus 100 on the money line. Pitt minus 120. So a slight favorite. And it makes sense because what was Pitt last year? 7.5 at Pittsburgh. So basically you flip the home field, and theirs wasn't a true home field. There won't be any there. I mean, you have the allotment that's allocated to the visiting team, but there won't be a bunch of Pitt fans in that stadium that night. That's going to be as an electric college football crowd for a non-top 10 game that we will see in a couple years, in my opinion. Not biased.
It's since 2011 since they've been there, right?
Yeah, we had a good streak going against them before last year when we shit ourselves down the stretch. So revenge game, night game, couch is burning. It's going to be an old school crowd there in Morgantown.
Pissing everywhere. People be peeing just everywhere.
Yeah, we don't even need to give out winners just because we know which side we're on, and we're going to preview it about 27 more times between now and September 16th. Final game of the non-con. This is the Sonny Dykes Bowl, and you know what? SMU had won the prior two meetings prior to last year, which means Sonny Dykes is on a 3-game win streak in this matchup. SMU, the only non-con game in week number 4. SMU going to TCU. Can what am I trying to ask? Can SMU knock off Sonny Dykes so Sonny Dykes doesn't have the longest streak anymore?
I just did a whole thing in my head. I don't even.
Yeah.
I
was confusing myself because SMU won 2 in a row, then Sonny Dykes jumped, and then TCU won last year. So
the real streak is Sonny Dykes. So
Sonny Dykes.
Okay.
And
whichever Sonny
SMU's
Dykes
not good enough. So Sonny Dykes is actually the only one that could make Sonny Dykes lose the Sonny Dykes Bowl win streak.
Yep.
Against
if
Sonny
he tries
Dykes
to outsmart himself or something, then I don't know. Maybe
that's
happens.
the key. The only way Sonny Dykes loses this is because he lost to himself.
Yep.
There we go. Simple as that.
It is an interesting spot though for like TCU because they're playing the Big 12 opener the week before against Houston, and on deck, who do they have? They have West Virginia. So, and last year was a close game. So I actually think that this will be a close game. I think SMU can keep this close.
They will.
It's a rivalry.
This game. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Man. Oh, actually, we do have one more. It actually just disappeared. I accidentally deleted it, but I got it back right here. It is the newest member of the Division I, FBS. Sam Houston State is going to H-Town week number 4. Can little brother pull off an upset here in the great state of Texas?
No.
Pretty simple.
That was pretty simple, Rush.
Pretty simple. I'm gonna have to agree with Rush. I don't see this one happening.
I mean, I don't know much about Sam Houston State going this year. I'll get a better scouting report after they play BYU week 1. How about that?
That's fair. I will say this about Sam Houston State. We did see something incredible last year with JMU. Similar thing. And Sam Houston State beat JMU in the playoff. I forgot what year it was. Is just because they're jumping from FCS to FBS. There's a reason. I think it's bullshit. Another thing what we'll discuss in April when we're the governing body and make all the rules. How can JMU be ranked 25th, but they can't compete for a Sun Belt title or go to a bowl game? I don't understand that at all. But hey, I mean, it sometimes you have to see it done once for other teams to believe you can do it. So I'll give Sam Houston that. We'll see how they do in Provo. We've seen a team like JMU do it. So it definitely is possible. I don't think it's possible in this scenario, but hey, we've seen weirder things in sports.
Houston's got a tricky non-con, man. Sam Houston, UTSA, man, especially headed into Big 12, they're going to be well prepared. So, and you know who else is going to be prepared is everybody listening to the show, because we're going to have every Big 12 game covered this season. Shit, we already covered the non-con in a brief preview. Russ, what were you going to say?
Sorry, I just have one quick honorable mention, and I just want to make note of it. 9-16, Kansas goes to Nevada. There's something about that game that feels very weird, and I'll just leave it at that. That's a very weird
that they're playing at Nevada out of nowhere.
Yes. Yeah. Well, probably when it was scheduled 17 years ago, Nevada's like, oh, we'll beat a Power 5 school to strengthen our whatever they were thinking. And obviously the tides have turned, but hey, I'm not, we need to see Kansas play consecutively, great years in a row, but old Kansas could make an appearance out of nowhere. And I don't think Nevada's supposed to be too great this year in the Mountain West, but if you see old Kansas make an appearance in Nevada, and that, I just take it from me, it's going to be a weird game.
10:30, not even a 10:15 game, right? It's a 10:30 game.
I like that.
CBS Sports Network. You know what? At least you can find that, unlike the Pac-12 Network and Longhorn Network.
Or the CW. I'd rather watch CBS Sports than the CW, so there you go.
Eat shit. Troy, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just... the fact that it's being played in Nevada and they scheduled it so long ago, and now everything is so legal gambling wise. I mean, man,
you're going to have so many people betting on that game drunk just because they want to bet on something.
Weird things can happen. I'm telling you.
Yes, they can. And before we get up on out of here, tell everybody where to find you, Rambling Rush.
Rambling Rush, Twitter, Instagram, at Ryan and Rush Show, the show Ryan and I do, West Virginia Focus. Please subscribe. Follow us on our socials as well. Appreciate all the support so far and can't wait to get this season going.
You can always find me.
Messiah.
You can always find me probably on a golf course. So don't come looking for me. I'm out there to get the fuck away from all of you goddamn people. You can follow me on Twitter if you want. It's just at Troy Chewning, and you'll get a bunch of pictures of me on the golf course telling you to fuck off. So.
Or growing weed.
And
from green,
you know what? We almost forgot. This is a Friday's edition. Troy's take of the week. And Troy, who do we have that subscribed to the Big 12 college experience? Let's get a little bit of music.
If it's who I think it is, I think he just got bought out by.
Who's that?
There it is.
Mike
Gundy.
There he is, Mr. Gundy.
Fishing. Just got bought out of his OAN deal. And he's subscribing to the Big 12 college experience here, baby.
Yes, he is. So you heard it. Listen to Coach Gundy. Get over there, subscribe, leave a 5-star review. That's all we need. It's free, man. All this content's free. Get over there. Coach Gundy told you to get over there, leave a review. He subscribed to the Big 12 College Experience. Subscribe to the College Experience. Follow us on Twitter at TCE at SGPN. And that's all I got for the week. You can find me at Moneyline_Mac, and we will be back next week to break down Big 12 conference games, game of the years, and trap games. Have a great weekend, everybody, and let it ride.